Hey everybody, it's good to see you all again. This segment is just to kind of let you guys know what is going on in this episode. So, in this episode, there is a situation. Towards the end, or anywhere in this episode, there is a blank. That means there's no sound coming in the episode, and you might think that is your fault. That is my fault. You can blame me, say it was my fault, because that is an editing problem, and that's because of recording and the recording platform that I use. If that happens to be in the episode, if that's in it, what you need to do is to just disregard it. Don't worry about it. Consider it like an ad break. Consider it like a break. Consider it like we're taking a 5 minute break. Consider it like that. So, no freaking out. No need to worry. Make sure you guys enjoy the episode, enjoy what's in it, and y'all have a good one. And enjoy this one. Really enjoy it and have fun. And please disregard the blanks in there, consider them breaks. Hope you guys enjoy this episode and thank you guys for understanding and for your cooperation. All right, there we go. Hey everybody, good to see you. This is gonna be really, really amazing. This is Omito. Any of you guys who are producers and are confident Instagram just like I am, and just scrolling, especially because most of his posts is actually has a hashtag producer on the side. If you're a producer and you're confident Instagram, this is the guy you gotta talk to. He posts beats every single couple days, so you'll never get enough. Like you'll never get enough. And he's insanely talented and he's so versatile, and I'm glad to have you with us today. Thank you so much.
Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on here, and I'm glad to hear that the hashtags have actually been working. I never know for sure if they actually work or not, but if you said that, you found my post by the hashtags, that's yeah, that's great news.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, every post you have like 20 hashtags, literally
Yeah,
every
of
post.
course.
For sure. And this is actually really insane because you post a lot and you are very versatile because every beat you make is insanely unique. I mean, every single one. I can't think of any that are the same as each other. Like they're really different. I mean, you had one like just a couple hours ago, like that was like this chill beat, and you started out with the guitar, and then like a while back you made another one like piano, and you had one with drums and some chords. So I'm curious to know like what's your method when it comes to making beats like that?
Yeah, like I've always been kind of a very diverse producer, and I think a lot of that just comes from like the music that I listen to. Like I don't just listen to like hip hop or pop. Like I love listening to like EDM and like experimental music and instrumental like musicians and just a whole mixed bag of like every genre, right? Even, I think back to when uh I first started making beats, like the people who I looked up to the most were like, I was looking up to hip hop producers like Kanye, Jay Dilla, Drake's producer 40. But at the same time, I was looking up to, people in the electronic music scene like Avicii, Skrillex, Swedish House Mafia. So just like I've like, I don't know, it's just like for some reason, like I've always taken such an interest into so many different genres, and it's always been tough for me to like pick one specific genre and stick with it. It's just like, I'll make like a rap beat, and then like an hour later, I just like have a craving to make, some indie rock beat or something. It's like, whatever I make is definitely 100% like myself. Like I put myself into every single beat I make. But it's just like I have so much fun making different things, and I've never really liked, to be sort of confined to one genre, like to keep myself in one box. Like I find when I do that, I get kind of like bored, so I always just want to experiment, learn different things, just kind of keep challenging myself. And that's kind of why I often change genres and have become so diverse.
That's really incredible, and I'm glad you're doing so because you don't want to be any of those like old producers that wear and tear because they don't change anything.
Exactly, right. And that's like the things that I've learned, over like, having my beats on YouTube for over a decade now, selling beats, for over a decade now. It's constantly about like adapting. And I think like, if I was doing the exact same stuff that I was doing 10 years ago when I started, like I never would have got better, and I probably would have like, given up. Because for me, whenever I hear something like in a different, music genre, or I get so excited. Like it's motivational to me. It gets me hyped to like be like, oh, I want to do something like that, right? Even if it's not necessarily, in the genre I usually produce. It's like I find that really like stepping out of your comfort zone, like it can really help to kind of inspire you and learn new ideas.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And I love people like that that um are literally okay with changing and adapting. 'Cause I can't stand this people making the same sound over and over again.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Like nobody wants to hear that. Like they want something different, that makes them unique. Like so you don't get, wear and tear, like earlier. You don't get wear and tear.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like I feel like, even like I think back to like some of like Drake's like new music, right? Like everyone's been talking about this new Drake album. Like I have mixed feelings about it, but what I love the most is how like it's different. Like it's something new. It might not be the absolute perfect album. It might not be like you know, the peak of Drake's career, but I really like and respect and appreciate that he's, trying to bring something new to the table. I thought that his previous album, Certified Lover Boy, I thought that was just like all of the same stuff that I've heard from him over and over. So it didn't sound like anything new. So that's why I didn't like I got so bored of that album. But this one, like I really like, and I always like when artists like, you know, try and get out of their comfort zone, try and bring something new to the table. It might not work on the first go, but at least you can kind of learn different things, kind of expand your horizon and your knowledge, and then like use, these things, right? Like, I think about like when I'm making some of my like hip hop or like trap or kind of darker like rap beats, there's a lot of things that like production wise that I do that I've taken inspiration from, indie rock artists or experimental or like EDM artists. So I use all that stuff and apply it to hip hop and rap. And I think that's one thing that's kind of like helped me kind of stand out amongst like any competition.
For sure, for sure, for sure. And I'm glad you actually pointed out Drake is a good example because they I mean, you're right about the mix. I mean, everybody has mixed feelings, but it was all over Twitter. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you saw, but it was like all over Twitter. I heard this one guy that made me laugh. Literally, it made me laugh. But he said that he used the weekend's old beats and just made an album out of them. That made me laugh.
I've heard some things like that too. And I mean, like it's like the one thing that I've always like found interesting about Drake is like if he puts out like a bad song, it still has like everyone talking about it, which is like crazy. It's like there's such a discussion on like, is this album good or is this bad? But the main thing is like it gets people talking and people are still listening to it, right? And I think sometimes like people get kind of too caught up in like, debating whether music is bad, right? Like
Mhm.
I know that the Chance the Rapper album, The Big Day, he often gets like memed and like, I've seen so many reviews where people hate that album, right? And as a Chance the Rapper fan, like it's not my favorite album, but there are some things of that album I like. But I go back and kind of listen to it occasionally, get some inspiration or kind of like just listen to it. And like even though like people said it was like a bad album, like it still got so many plays on Spotify and stuff. Like it has like so many plays. So what I learned from that is like, music is subjective, right? Even if everyone's talking about how bad an album is or whatever, or making memes of it, like there's still going to be people who like it. And that's why I think it's so important to be like authentic, right? Because I mean, if you're putting yourself like out there and you're constantly like putting out stuff like I do on Instagram, like day after day, constantly putting out new beats, like I'm gonna find some people who like the beats. I might have some beats that don't necessarily sell as good or get as many views, but the more music I put out and kind of stay active, I'm gonna find that pocket of like fans or people who really appreciate the sound, and that's who I'll cater my music towards.
For sure. And some are valid points, and that definitely changed my view about Chance. Like that definitely changed my view for sure. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you pointed out. And speaking about that, I know it's off of music, but the name. I just um I just figured out that your first name's Timothy and your beats name, middle's kind of like your first name. Like how did that happen?
Yeah, so I've been making beats like since I was in grade school. Like I came up with that nickname, that stage name, Omito, when I was in like fourth grade. So what it is, it's Tim backwards with like two O's around it, and it's I don't know, like I've always had like mixed feelings now, like however many years it's been, like 15 years or whatever since I've had this name, and like sometimes like I I wish I could change it. I don't know what I would change it to, but it's like at this point it's like there's obviously way too much I have invested and worked on it to make like this many changes. But yeah, that's kind of how the like origin came to be. It was just like a name I made when I was in fourth grade, like and starting to make beats and kind of learn music production, kind of learn YouTube a little bit too. uh and all throughout grade school just kind of stuck with this brand name and kind of perfected it over the years.
Mm, that explains a whole lot, but honestly, you shouldn't have mixed thoughts about it. I mean, it's literally very unique. I've never heard anything like it. And I've interviewed and met people that have your exact name, and I never heard anything like it.
Well, that's what people say, like people say like, hey, at least it's unique, and it's like, yeah, I can't argue with that. I haven't ran into another like producer or an artist who's making beats under a similar name, so it definitely works for me like that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of the kind. Like you won't find that name ever again. Like that's your
Yeah.
name, and you won't be able to find it again.
Yeah.
And now, one of your accomplishments is you got a lot of subs on YouTube. I want to say congrats.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You got over 100,000 subs on YouTube. That is really incredible. And I'm curious to know because everybody's on YouTube nowadays. So I'm curious to know, like, how does YouTube help with your, your producing career and your beats?
Yeah, so like YouTube has definitely been like the number one like biggest factor of my music, especially like in my early years when I was just starting to post online. I mean, like, I've been having my beats online since like before Instagram was really a thing. So YouTube was kind of all I was limited to. But even today, it's such like an important factor and such a big like vehicle in driving people to hear my beats or buy my beats or follow me online. Like there's some statistic out there and I don't know it off by heart, but YouTube, like even though a lot of people think of it as a video platform, it's like still one of like the biggest like music platforms, like comparing it to Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Tidal, like all those like ones like that. Like a lot of people go on to YouTube expecting to listen to music, which is kind of like I think a lot of people don't all like know that because everyone think it's just video, but YouTube has definitely been like like it helped me like get so many like subscribers when I first started, and definitely after 10, 12 years I've been on YouTube, 100,000 subscribers later, like I'm still doing it, right? And there's a lot I've learned over the years about like YouTube, like growing a brand on there, getting subscribers, building content for it. But I think like it has a lot of potential for basically any content creator. Like it's such a big platform. um so it's definitely been like like I said, like the biggest factor of success for my production career.
Wow. And hey, you're not wrong. Like everybody's on YouTube. Like like besides YouTube, you really have Spotify. Like that's the only one. Like I think Spotify and Linktree is another one, but that's not really a site like that. But everybody's on YouTube, and I'm glad you picked. I'm glad that that's helped you a lot. Everybody's on YouTube. I've seen them. Like every artist that exists has a YouTube. Like if you don't have a YouTube, I mean, how can you really have any music? Because everybody's on YouTube. Like everybody watches premieres, and some people use YouTube Music like I do, and listen to music like literally on there. So
Yeah. And I think like it's also like, as a musician, and like kind of one thing that I've, been learning recently, and kind of a ongoing project of my own. It's like, yeah, I have my beats on YouTube that for the most part it's just audio with a little picture, right? There's nothing too fancy. But I'm kind of like learning more from other content creators, and I have videos on a second channel where I talk about, how I sell beats and how I got into making music, and I kind of, throw on a little camera and show people how I do stuff. And that's kind of built me up like a little following there, and it's kind of attracted people that way who then funnel into my whole like music and become a fan like that. So there's so many like opportunities for artists out there. I think like the main thing is just like it's obviously doing it right. Like we were talking, in the beginning, you were mentioning how I post on Instagram like every single day, right?
mhm.
There's some people who, follow me on Instagram and they'll DM me and they'll ask for like music advice. Or like, hey, I'm not seeing any growth. I'm not seeing any followers. I'm not seeing any plays on my music or no one buying my beats, right? And I go look at their profile and it's like they haven't posted within like the last month, or they've posted like once every 3 weeks and stuff. But it's like at the same time, like I'm trying to post like every single day, right? It's just like I think like especially like nowadays when people absorb content so quickly on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, like I think like one of the biggest things to being an artist in 2022 is to, really utilize like content and like really make a whole bunch of content for your music. Like it's a grind because like you almost need to like, know all this social media and content and video editing stuff. Like you almost need to like pay more attention to that than you do like your actual music, which is crazy. But that's how people I think can really find your music. And I think like there's a lot of opportunities out there right now for people who are making content like for their music.
For sure, for sure. And it's really funny to mention that because I mean I've seen it too, like, and that's something that's becoming like a phenomenon as well. Like the opposite of what you said, like they expect it to just like pop because they're on a site like Instagram or TikTok and they don't do anything with it and they just leave it and they expect it to pop because they've seen other people do it. Like they've seen
Yeah.
other big artists, like they've seen other big artists like leave songs and they become big. So they think they could do the same. And I mean, that's really wrong. Like you gotta really captivate your content because that's that's like a big act. Like that's your act, and if you want to do anything with it, I mean, that's I don't know how to follow up with that.
Yeah.
That's just wrong.
No, like there's this one quote that's kind of going around like online. I've seen this clip from this like Tyler the Creator interview recently. And he said in this interview, he said that he sees people, post an album or create an album, and they'll follow up with it by posting it in their Instagram story like one time, and that's it. And then he was saying that he dropped his album a year ago and he's still like promoting it like crazy. Like he's still like, doing performances, music videos, like he's still pushing out his album after a year, right? And he compared it to people who, drop a song and post it once and expect to blow up then, right? Like, I keep hearing like a lot of people still talking about his album that came out a year ago, and everyone is saying how good of an album it is and it was. And probably a lot of that, comes from the fact that it's still relevant to a lot of people because he's still pushing it, he's still promoting it, right? It's kind of inspiring, to see it.
For sure, absolutely. And I definitely support that. I looked at the clips and I was like, I mean, that's really, really amazing that you are pushing it very hard. That really shows, your character and your musicianship and your dedication to such an amazing project, or such, or even just a mission. I mean, the most common one I've seen, most common case I've seen is TikTok. Everybody posts on TikTok and they expect it to go big, like, and some of the music's not even really good. Like Tyler the Creator is like a legendary rapper, and
Yeah.
he's still going on. I mean, that's really showing dedication. That's a real true artist in my opinion. Like, I
I
don't
think
know.
so. And it like also like it kind of opens my mind to like I was saying what we were just talking about, how like people should be posting, in my opinion, like every single day online, or like constantly
Mhm.
making content. And I can get how some people like hear that and they might be overwhelmed, like how am I going to make you know so many content if it takes me months or weeks or days to make a song? Like how am I going to make content every single day? And like Tyler the Creator is a perfect example, that he's like made his album of 10, 12 songs or whatever, and he's still promoting it, right? Like just because you make one song doesn't mean that like you can't promote it over and over and over again. There are some people on TikTok, some rappers and some singers who I've like followed and become a fan of their music. And I've become a fan because I keep seeing them singing along to their song, or like, showing how they made it in their like bedroom studio, or like, in the car singing it. And after, a couple times of seeing these videos, like I've become familiar with the artist. I've heard the song a couple times. It might not be like that was the greatest song in the world, but like the more I'm seeing it, the more I'm like becoming a fan, the more I'm, getting familiar with them and recognizing them, and eventually becoming a fan of their music.
For sure, for sure. And I mean, that's real musicianship if you keep promoting. I mean, I'm not a fan of people that just post a song and they only perform at like special events and they leave the song there, and they just want people to listen to it. And then in crazy, I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but in crazy cases, it actually works in some crazy cases, but like they're not taken seriously, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like what's a good example? Like Gail's song, for example, she didn't promote it well enough, and like now her song is like old.
Yeah. And it's like it's crazy because like I don't think music has like a shelf life, right? Like, a lot of people like who message me for advice are producers asking, like, for advice on selling their beats. Like there are some beats that I made 3 years ago, even more, that I still sell today. And some of the videos that I post on Instagram, like today or yesterday or 2 days ago, those are beats that I made like 2 3 months ago, right? Like you can like always like go back into your old like songs and stuff, and if you're creative, if you find a way to kind of share this content, like you can really like keep your music alive, right? I really don't think that music has a shelf life. And I think like as musicians, as rappers or singers or producers, that's like one of, I think, the greatest things about the industry that we're in, right? Because it's like we're making these digital products, right? Whether it be your song, your album, or your like your beats, right? It can take you some time and expertise and creativity to produce like a digital product, a piece of music. But then once you have it, like you can just keep doing whatever you want with it, right? You can make music videos, you can send it out to people and make remixes, like you can constantly do stuff with it. So that's why I think like I don't know. I love being a musician for that reason. Like it gets me so excited to like, create something, and then just once something is created, it's like I have endless possibility of what to do with it. And I think that's what more people kind of have to kind of realize and do with their own songs.
For sure, absolutely. And I totally agree. And that's why legendary artists like that's why their songs are so like really good every time you listen to it. Like I even like there's an 80s song that's like #1 around the world. I forgot the name, but like 20 years ago it's still pretty good. That shows how good the song was.
Yeah. It's crazy too. It's like, that some things I've learned after like being, a music producer after a decade long is like sometimes it's like, there's stuff I did like 10, 8, whatever years ago. It's like I planted the seed and like I'm learning from it today, right? And I have a couple examples. Like, there's one back when I was in like I might have been in ninth grade in high school or still in grade school. I posted like I had my YouTube channel and I made this like instrumental album of beats, right? I just shared it with my small audience. And then just this year, I've been connected with an artist who listened to me back when I dropped that album, like when I was in like eighth grade or whatever. And like he's still been a fan of me, and he was paying me to work on his album. And it was crazy because like, if I didn't do that stuff like 8 years ago or whatever, like I would have had that opportunity like to do it now, right? And even some of the stuff I'm learning, like posting videos on YouTube, or like even doing like podcast things like this, or creating content. Like I remember like 4 or 5 years ago, like studying Gary V, and like I tried to do a podcast too, and all these like videos and stuff. And it's like all this stuff I feel like is kind of like it was like planting the seed so long ago, and then years later it's like I'm doing this full time because I've put in like all this work and I've learned so much over the years.
For sure. Yes, yes. And that's incredible how life works like that. I mean, this for this guy to just come back years later and still enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's
It's great.
really
I was like blown my mind. Like we were making music together on a Zoom call, and he pulled up his old hard drive, and he had all these beats I made from like so long ago. And I was like, man, like I haven't heard, some of the beats he played. Like I forgot they even like existed, right? It's kind of crazy just how like it works like that. And that's like, you know, it's like it's very rare, I think, for people who, have music blow up overnight. It's like a lot of time, like, you have to kind of focus on that long term like strategy, right? Like, I remember like that first year, like I was selling beats online. I sold like 3 beats in one whole year, 3 beats. And that was after like 4 or 5 years of actually learning how to produce. So it took me like, that long to sell like 3 beats. And flash forward, like, last year I sold over 1,000 beats. This year I'm probably going to sell more than that. Like it's crazy how there's been like this growth, but like in the beginning, if I focused on like, big success and these numbers, like I totally would have like quit if I like, went all these years after not selling any beats or seeing numbers stuff, right? But I think like those like, you can't focus too much on the numbers. Like you just have to focus on like the love of the music. And that's something I did, for years and years. Like I didn't care about anything else except posting my music online and having fun making it. And all that stuff like, paid off a decade later.
yes, yes, yes. And I'm glad it did. And actually, I do want to ask about your selling methods because this person who wants to be on the show as well. There's a person that I forgot his Insta name, but he wants to be on the show, but he keeps sending me links to his beats, and I feel like that's a lot of producers I saw, and they just keep like putting links of their beats, just either spamming or just keep
Yeah.
links over and over. So seeing that you're a master of that, or at least you have great success excuse me in it. What is the best method for selling beats? Like, what's the best way to go with it?
Yeah, so there's so much I could talk on that. There's like obviously like I think if someone is just like sending you random links to their beats or their website, like kind of out of the blue, kind of out of context, I think like the only thing they care about is like selling, which that I don't think that's really gonna work at all, right? I've seen some producers before who like literally won't even like talk to artists. They just want people to buy their stuff, and it's like I think like you really need to have like like a connection. Like you have to show yourself. You have to be human, right? At the end of the day, like you can't just be like a robot spamming your links everywhere, because that never works for anything, right? The A lot of people that sorry. So a lot of people that like all right, hopefully it's not too loud. My dog's barking at the door there, but um yeah, so I can I check that 1 sec? I'm gonna be 1 sec. I don't know if we can just I'll be 1 sec, sorry.
Okay, okay. I'll just keep it audience. So, producers, if you guys are interested in any of his beats, his Insta is Omito Beats, and he has this great site, sleek.io/Omito Beats, and he posted 8 hours ago. He posted a very oh, he's back.
Sorry about that. I know that was super, super unprofessional podcastism. I apologize for that. But yeah, hopefully there's not a huge random blank spot there. But I know we were talking about my advice for selling beats, and I was saying like uh you have to be human. There's a lot of people who buy my beats, like not even from like my YouTube or my Instagram. Like they might have heard my stuff on there the first time, but they keep buying stuff because they're messaging me, and I've built a relationship with them. And I think that is something that's super, super important. So I think anyone who's trying to sell beats should have good like communication and good like business etiquette, right?
Mhm.
But then also like I talk a lot about like the content, which is something that I think is really, really important. And if it's not easy for people to buy, like to listen to your music and to buy your beats, like it's gonna make like it's gonna cause you to make less sales, right? Like it has to be really easy for someone to search your beats on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, wherever you're posting them. And then it has to be really easy for them to understand your website and to buy your beats. And I've seen some producers before who, and even some artists before, who ask me like, why isn't anyone buying my beats or listening to my music? And I go to their Instagram profile, and it's like I can't even figure out like how to listen to their music, right? So I think it has to be like really easy and straightforward. And I remember, a couple years back, I was kind of redesigning some of my like website and my social media, and I asked some of my friends who, they're not musicians at all. They never bought a beat before, like in their life. Like I don't even know what stuff they listen to. I just sent them like my website link, and I said like, hey, like can you try and figure out how to buy a beat? Like just pretend like you wanted a beat for my website. Like how would you do it? And some of them had issues. Some of them didn't understand like my licensing options. Some of them were just so confused. So like the way I sell music online is that I want to make sure like someone who is buying music for the first time, like when they have no experience of being an artist or buying beats, like I want to make sure it's easy and it's straightforward for them. And that's something that I always will swear by.
Wow, amazing. And I'm glad that you pointed that out because I think they really need that. Actually, they really need that a lot.
I know there's a lot of people too. Like it's like, being a producer, I never expected really to have this much like, focus on the business side of things, right? And it's stuff I've learned along the way, and I've had to learn. It's been exciting to learn along the way. But I think a lot of people who are, who want to sell beats just want to make music and collect paychecks at the end of the day. And there's a lot more work than than that, right? And it's like I said, like, and if you're, getting into music just with the kind of focus on, getting paid and making millions and millions of dollars, you're going to get discouraged when you're not seeing those results, right? And that's why,
Mhm.
like, I would encourage anyone like who is just starting out, like, don't focus on the numbers at all. I remember when I was posting my beats on YouTube, like back in grade school, I remember hitting 100 subscribers, and I was like, wow, this is like insane. Like, I made a YouTube video where I like thanked every like single like one of my subscribers because it had them all on a list. And then I remember after that, like, I literally just like put my head down, worked on music. Like, I was grinding for years. And it's like the next thing I noticed, I was at 30,000 subscribers. And it took a couple of years, but I like didn't even realize like the numbers I was doing until I like was showing my friend one of my like some of my beats and my YouTube and stuff. He was like, wow, you have like 30,000 subscribers. That's like insane. And I was like, yeah, I guess it is. I didn't even think about that, right? It was just because I had like the only thing I cared about was making music and having fun doing it. And I think that that kind of, mindset and doing that for a couple years in the beginning, like that's like the core like foundation, I think, of my music. And that's kind of what led me to where I am today.
That's incredible. Wow, that blew me away. How your whole journey has been. You started small and then you progressed on like a lot of people are actually in reverse, actually, you wouldn't believe it, but they're actually in reverse of what of
Yeah.
that. Like they start off big, but then they go backwards, or they start small and then they keep being and they keep getting smaller. Like
Yeah. And that's kind of like one of the things, like I've heard people say that like if you blew up overnight, if you had one song that you post that just went like mega viral, like I've heard from some people who are very smart and they've put in the years of grinding, that like they would be scared, to have one song blow up, because if you're not ready, like you don't have like all the talent and expertise and can, run your music like a well-oiled machine. If you have one song that blows up, it's like if you're not prepared to follow it up with something, like you're gonna see a big drop off of people, right? And so like instead, like if you start small, like, make every song that you make better, make every beat that you make better than the last, like you're gonna get, a lot better over time. And when eventually you have that one that blows up, you're gonna have two things. You're gonna have a whole, content library, a whole like song like discography already made that people are gonna go back and listen to. And you're gonna have all the tools that you need. You're gonna like understand, exactly how to make music. You're not gonna be like still figuring it out when your song goes viral, because then you still have to figure it out, right? Which I think that's why a lot of people can kind of be the opposite. And I think that those, the musicians who are like kind of in it for the long term, are here to stay, are not posting, one song and then fading out. Like those ones who are all in it to stay are the ones who have, put it in that grind and started small and kind of keep working and working at it.
yes, yes, yes. That's exactly it. That's that. Sorry. You just made a lot of valid points, and I'm still processing through my brain right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, that's always what like I get so excited to talk about music. Like I've always been rambling and stuff, but it's just like, as a musician, like a lot of times people like like they make music on themselves, right? So it's like it's always exciting, like whenever I can be on a podcast or talk with other like creatives in the space. Um, and it's yeah, I feel you. Like I could talk so much about music forever, but it's just because I love it, right?
For sure, yes. But I appreciate your love and passion for music. That's really powerful. Music is the most powerful language that exists.
Definitely. And it's like it's people from all over music, yeah, like you said, like it's a powerful language that connects anyone, right? And that's why I love being a like an instrumental musician, because I've heard people who have rapped and sang over my songs in languages that I have absolutely no clue what they're saying, but it's like people still get the yeah, people can still relate to it, and it kind of hits them emotionally, and they can connect with it and share a story with it, and that's something that I always will love.
Definitely. And you fit, like, being an instrumentalist and producer, it fits you. Besides, I don't really see you singing or rapping it.
No,
I don't see your
I
face.
wish I could, but I have the I do not have a singing or rapping voice at all. Like I wish I could like, sing or rap and have the voice for it, but I don't. I just stick to the instrumental stuff, but I don't know. If I could like, have the voice and have the talent for it, I'm sure there'd be a lot of kind of cool stuff I do, but right now I just leave that to the more talented people, and I just kind of make the beats that kind of allow them to share their songs and to share their voice, and at the end of the day that's cool with me.
I'm cool with that too. I'm cool with that. It fits you. Like I don't really see you doing anything else besides being a producer. Like I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know what else you'd be doing if it wasn't for.
I don't
Uh,
know, like I'm so happy I know so much about music, because like I'm trying to get into YouTube and stuff. Like I was talking, I have this kind of second channel where I put out where I make like tutorials and more videos about me like talking about music, but at the end of the day, like it's being a producer is still like the forefront, and that's like that's what I always like want to be, and I think that I'll always be a music producer no matter what. It's just something I've so much fun, and I love making like music.
yes, yes, and you have fun with it. That's what I
Definitely.
noticed on Instagram too. Is like you have fun doing it, and you
Yeah.
make it your own.
And even going back to what we were talking about first, like how I make, so many genres, it's just because I have so much fun with it, right? And, no matter what genre I make, I'm always trying to make something that like gets people moving, gets people like energetic or excited. Like I just love like, I don't know how to explain it, but like I just love making music that like has good energy and spreads good energy. And that's something that I'll always do forever.
And I support that 100%. I support that, and that's the other reason for inviting you on this special day was just because you have fun, and that not a lot of people ever, asked you before. Like I see a lot of beats. I don't really see, a lot of people asking you things like this.
Yeah, no, it's
Like
I always love sharing this stuff, so that's why I was totally down and happy to be on the podcast when you asked.
I'm glad, and I'm glad you got to share this side of you. And it was so needed because you never do that. Like, I don't know if you ever done an interview before this, but you just never.
Yeah, not a whole lot, and it's like I don't know. There's like I think there should definitely be more stuff like this, because it's like I think back to when I started making beats, how there was like no inspiration, like no information. It was hard to learn the ropes, and I feel like with stuff like this, like hopefully anyone who's getting into music nowadays has like a has an easier time than when I was trying to learn stuff through forums and all this crazy stuff so long ago, right?
For sure, for sure. And people need this. Like, they really they need all the wisdom they can get, and like, you're an earful. Definitely. And I even learned a lot. I'm not a producer, but um, I made little beats and I've taught to producers, but this is has been the most in depth I ever um, been into.
Wow, I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. Um, and as far as this is going, I'm curious to know as well. Where do you see where do you see this going? Like, do you have any plans for any new beats or big projects? Like, where do you see this going in the future?
Yeah, like I hope I make music and sell beats forever, right? It's kind of like it's I kind of think about that sometimes. Like it's so hard to like picture what I could be doing because I feel like all the stuff that I do, like, it wasn't available on this scale like um, you know, decades ago, right? Like no one was really making beats from themselves or really like making music from home. Like you had to go into the studio. So it's like it's definitely a new like era in music and for music creators. But I hope that like I can still make and sell beats and work with other musicians forever. I love like working with independent musicians. Like I like you can ask some producer what their goals are, and some people will say like, oh, I want to work with Kanye, I want to work with Drake, I want to work with Lady Gaga, like all the big people, right? And even though that would be awesome, like I get so excited working with like independent creators, like people who are making music on a smaller scale and having so much fun with it. Like I really like want to work with people like that forever. So I think that's definitely like the lane that I see myself going into. And then like in addition to music, like I want to get really into YouTube and like this kind of tutorial channel that I've been working on where I can share my knowledge, I can share the things that I've learned and kind of take people into the studio with me, like in a virtual sense on YouTube, and connect with people and show people how it's done.
And that's amazing. Like, I support you 100% on that. Like, that's incredible that you're helping musicians. I mean, like, I that was what I thought you were gonna say. Like, I thought you were gonna say like some big people you don't want to work with. Like, I thought so.
Like don't get me wrong, like I would love to work with them, but it's like I've had like opportunities and connections like with like some like label people before, and it's like uh it's just like it's a different like playing field like when you're working with like these big labels and big companies, and sometimes it's like it's just fun making music with the smaller guys, and I don't mean that in any negative sense. Like I love people who they have complete control over everything that they do.
Mm-hmm. But what you're doing is actually a lot better because independent artists like they need support like that. I mean, those big artists have enough support. The independent ones don't have a lot. I've seen them, they don't have a lot. They need people like you, like you and I, and people, willing to help them in, their journey and their upbringing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like also it's like there's right now, like I think it's like definitely easier than it's kind of ever been to become a musician, right? Like anyone like can upload music to Spotify and stuff if they use like TuneCore or DistroKid or CD Baby and stuff. Like it takes a little bit of work to figure out, but like yeah, I feel like right now it's easier than ever to be a musician and to share your like if anyone wants to share music, like I think it's easier than ever. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for anyone right now.
Yes, yes, yes. And this is also a perfect time because it's a lot harder for people now because we're still like in this pandemic kind of deal still, and like it is a lot harder, but it's also like a more bonding time. Um, in a more helpful situation, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
And your whole deal with tutorials and all that, like, I hope you get that second YouTube channel. I mean, if you have it, you need to share more of it, like, because that's really
Yeah,
cool.
I definitely I kind of made a couple videos last year and I keep coming back to it. It's kind of like a side like passion project at the moment, but if anyone like is ever, wanting to look for it, it's Omito Beats 2 is the channel. But it's a passion project, but it's something that I keep coming back to, and it's something that I want to get kind of into doing, full time or doing a whole lot more of.
And as you should, and you should expand and have like a whole brand and a whole deal with it. Like, I would even like to see a show one day like mine, like centered around the around like your life and like tutorials. I even got a name for you, like Into the Studio with Omito.
I like it. I like it.
Like like you should like have your own like not a TV show, but like something like that.
Yeah, like a I don't know, like a YouTube series. Kind of gives me ideas for
Yes,
stuff that I may see if I can make that soon. I love the idea.
you should like give people a tour of your studio, give them lots of advice, like um do different challenges, competitions, like turn it into a whole thing.
Oh, definitely.
Like that'd be huge, and people love that now. Like they like seeing experiences similar to theirs and something to share with.
Yeah, I definitely want to do a lot more stuff and to kind of bring people in the studio with me, kind of however I can make it happen, right? So I really like that idea.
Oh my god, yes, you should. And you should do reaction videos too. Like
That
bring a
I've thought about
producer in.
doing that. Yeah.
You should like bring a producer, either do like a Zoom or an in person, play one of their beats and like react to it with them in front of them. Like that's hilarious. Like that would be crazy.
Yeah. No, I definitely want to try that out. It gave me a lot of ideas. I definitely gotta sit with these and kind of think about what else I can be doing.
Yes, yes. So I would love to see it. So hopefully, and don't leave it behind because like people scrap me for metal. Like I hope you don't leave me behind.
Yeah.
And sorry. I want to thank you a lot for taking time to have a discussion. You have a strong passion for music, and I hope you don't lose your your fire, your whole spark, your whole reason. Like I really hope you keep doing this for a while because I love it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and I appreciate you having me on the podcast, and I love the stuff that you're doing and the messages that you're sharing for any musician out there.
That's what I do best. And do you have any last words for people listening in or for producers like yourself? Like,
Yeah, no, I would just say if anyone like ever wants to connect further, my Instagram is Omito Beats. That's probably where I'm most active. So, follow me there, message me there. I definitely down to connect with anyone.
nice, nice, nice words. And I thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you check out Omito Beats. He is literally everywhere. And make sure to check out his newest beat. It's really good. I listened to it and it's chill. I not watch. What am I talking about? Not watch. I took a listen while I was doing some work earlier and it's really good. So y'all make sure
I
to check it out
appreciate that.
and y'all make sure to break his YouTube. Like turn that 1,000 to a million, get like the plaque. There's a YouTube plaque you get. Not sure if you got it yet, but there's like a plaque for each like milestone. Make sure you get to millions so you can get that giant plaque up in his bedroom.
Oh, that'd be epic.
And again, thank you. And thank you for all the advice for producers, and we all appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Of course, and I'll catch you all next time. I hope you all enjoyed this, and just so you guys know, he'll be back later. If you guys need more advice, he'll be back. Like, I'll make sure he comes back. Like, this is not over yet. This is not over. I have his Instagram, so it's not over yet. It's not over. But I'll catch you guys next time. Love you guys and peace out.